Chosen one, stop scrolling. I need you to pause for a moment and close your eyes, not to drift off, but to truly listen. Can you sense that dense, heavy quiet hovering over your life right now? That strange stillness that feels like your prayers are rising upward only to collide with an invisible barrier. You have been interpreting that silence as rejection. You have told yourself that heaven has turned its face away. You have wondered if this is punishment. But hear me clearly, you have misread the moment. That silence is not abandonment. It is anticipation. It is the hush of a crowd leaning forward in expectation. At this very second, worship in heaven has quieted, not because you failed, but because God is drawing attention to something the angels themselves struggle to understand. He is not highlighting a preacher beneath bright lights. He is not pointing at someone performing on a stage. He is pointing at you. Specifically, at what you did when no one else was watching. Within the last day, maybe even hours ago, you swallowed your pride instead of firing off that angry message. You felt the heat in your chest, the tension in your throat, and instead of reacting, you chose restraint. You whispered, "I trust you," while tears streamed down your face. That decision released a spiritual frequency no angel can reproduce. They are flawless beings, untouched by suffering. You are not. You are hurting, yet you are still standing. And that is precisely why heaven is speaking your name with honor. Open your spirit now. We are about to uncover why you have become heaven's evidence. You must understand the meaning behind this divine quiet, because once you grasp it, everything shifts. The prophet Zephaniah gives us a doorway into this mystery. In Zephaniah 3:17, it says that the Lord delights in you, that in his love he will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. Most people skim past that verse and treat it like poetic language. But look closer. In several translations, the phrase, "he will no longer rebuke you," is rendered differently. It says, "he will quiet you with his love." That quiet is not the silence of distance. It is the silence of fulfillment. In the original Hebrew, the implication is not absence but contentment. It is the silence of a master craftsman who steps back from his completed work and has nothing left to adjust. No correction needed. No improvement required, just satisfaction. God is silent because he is pleased. While you are waiting for a word, he is admiring the endurance he has formed in you. He sees the integrity you maintained when compromise was easier. He sees the restraint you exercised when retaliation would have felt justified. He sees the faith you held on to when evidence was scarce. You think heaven has paused because you disappointed him. In reality, heaven has paused because you impressed him. He is allowing the angels to observe what has already been built inside you. But stay with me. Do not disengage halfway through this message. If you leave too soon, you will reduce this to flattery meant to soothe your emotions. This is not emotional sugar. By the end, you will understand why your body feels drained and what to do about it. We are going to examine the physical cost of spiritual victory. The breakthrough is hidden inside the diagnosis. Now let us examine the small act that caused movement in the throne room. What exactly did you do? From a human perspective, nothing spectacular. You did not perform a public miracle. You simply endured. And in the spirit realm, endurance is warfare. Consider the story of Job. We often focus on his suffering, but we forget how the story began. In Job chapter 1, it was not Job crying out for assistance. It was God initiating the conversation. God turned to the adversary and said, "Have you considered my servant Job?" Notice the pattern. Heaven brought his name up first. The accusation was simple. Job only honored God because he was protected and prosperous. The enemy argued that loyalty is easy when life is comfortable. Remove the hedge, touch the finances, disrupt the family, and watch the worship disappear. Now look at your own season. The covering felt thinner, income tightened, relationships became complicated. Opportunities seemed delayed. It appeared as if protection had been lifted, and somewhere in the unseen realm, a similar accusation was being tested against you. Would you still trust without visible reward? Recently, you faced a moment, small, almost invisible. Your chest tightened, your emotions surged. You wanted to retaliate, you wanted to quit, you wanted to compromise just enough to relieve the pressure. But instead you inhaled slowly and remained steady. That single decision carried more spiritual weight than a public miracle. Why would that matter so much? Why would such a quiet act command heavenly attention? Because there is something happening that many believers overlook. It is what I call the mystery of angelic curiosity. In 1 Peter 1:12, after describing salvation and the trials believers endure, it says that even angels long to look into these things. The Greek word used there describes bending down, peering closely, examining with intense fascination. Picture them leaning forward, studying you. They exist in perfection. They dwell in unfiltered glory. They have never wrestled with doubt, never navigated heartbreak, never endured betrayal. When they worship, they do so from sight. They see the majesty surrounding them. But you worship from obscurity. And that difference changes everything. You are spirit-wrapped in fragile flesh, navigating a fractured world. You cannot see God with your natural eyes. You feel pain. You experience loneliness. You wrestle with uncertainty, yet in the middle of that tension, you still choose trust. That produces a sound heaven does not naturally contain. When angels declare, "Holy, holy, holy," it is magnificent, but they sing from direct exposure to glory. Light surrounds them. There is no contradiction between what they see and what they proclaim. You, however, declare faith while surrounded by contradiction. When a wounded heart whispers, "I still believe you," through tears, it releases a tone that reverberates through the unseen realm. It is the sound of love that costs something. Angels cannot offer God worship born from suffering. They have no suffering to give. You possess a currency they do not have, the offering of endurance. So when you assumed your struggle meant spiritual failure, heaven interpreted it as rare devotion. God was not disappointed in your weakness. He was pointing at your perseverance. You are living proof that He is worthy even when blessings are not visible. But listen carefully, because this is where balance is required. While your spirit has been rising in resilience, your body has been absorbing the strain. Pause and scan yourself. Notice the heaviness near the base of your skull, the persistent mental fog, the short fuse over minor irritations, the fatigue that sleep does not fully resolve. That is not necessarily moral failure. It is biological response. You have been maintaining deep spiritual trust while your nervous system remains on alert. Your spirit seeks peace, but your brain has been operating in survival mode. And that internal mismatch has a cost. There is a real phenomenon at work here. Your inner life is reaching for stillness, clarity, and connection, yet your environment keeps triggering stress responses. Bills demand attention. Notifications interrupt constantly. Responsibilities stack higher. Conflict lingers unresolved. All of it keeps your nervous system braced for impact. Researchers describe this as a state dominated by high beta brainwaves, the pattern associated with vigilance, problem-solving, and stress. It is useful in short bursts. It is not sustainable as a lifestyle. Meanwhile, the state most closely linked to deep creativity, intuition, and spiritual receptivity is known as theta. Theta is slower, calmer, more expansive. It is the mental space where insight flows naturally and where trust feels effortless rather than forced. Your spirit longs for theta. Your circumstances keep dragging you back to high beta. Imagine a high-performance engine built for premium fuel being forced to run on low-grade gasoline. The machinery keeps moving, but it overheats. Components wear down faster, efficiency drops. That is what you have been experiencing. You are winning battles internally, choosing forgiveness, choosing restraint, choosing faith. But your physiology has been paying the price for sustained tension. Ancient contemplatives often withdrew for years to train their minds into sustained calm, despite external chaos. They removed themselves from distraction in order to align body and spirit. You do not have the luxury of retreating for decades. You have responsibilities. You have assignments that require action now. So the question becomes, how do you bring your biology into agreement with your faith so you do not burn out before fulfillment arrives? There is a practical key for this generation, one that helps recalibrate the mind quickly without isolation or extreme practices. And understanding it may explain why your exhaustion is not weakness, but misalignment. Here is the key. It is not about inventing a more intense prayer routine. It is about shifting mental frequency. Neuroscientists, including teams who have studied peak cognitive states in Hyde, performing creatives, and even researchers associated with NASA, have examined what happens in the brain during moments of profound insight and spiritual awareness. Repeatedly, they observed a consistent pattern: elevated theta activity. Theta is the state where intuition sharpens, where creativity expands, where internal noise quiets enough for subtle impressions to become clear. Children naturally spend more time in this state. It is associated with imagination, openness, and deep learning. But modern life is engineered to fragment attention. Constant alerts, financial pressure, sensational headlines, and unending comparison loops keep the brain cycling in stress-driven patterns. When your mind is locked in survival mode, it is extremely difficult to perceive gentle guidance. You cannot detect a whisper while alarms are blaring. This is why you feel spiritually committed, yet mentally drained. You are attempting to process profound insight while your nervous system remains braced for threat. It is like trying to stream high-definition clarity through a weak connection. So how do you recalibrate? There are tools designed specifically to guide the brain from high beta into theta using patterned sound frequencies. One such tool I have personally explored is called the Genius Wave. Think of it as a digital tuning fork. Through carefully structured audio, it encourages the brain to gradually synchronize with calmer wave patterns. It takes only minutes a day, no extreme rituals, no hours of silence required. You simply listen, allowing the sound to nudge your neural activity toward balance. This is not mysticism replacing faith. It is stewardship, caring for the mind so it can support the spirit. When your mental state aligns with your trust, endurance becomes sustainable rather than exhausting. But even as you consider this alignment, there is likely a voice inside you. That voice is subtle but sharp. It whispers, "This cannot apply to me. I am not exceptional. I am barely holding it together." It replays your recent mistakes. It reminds you of the moment you lost patience, the thought you are not proud of, the reaction you wish you could undo. It tries to convince you that heaven would never highlight someone as inconsistent as you. Listen carefully. That sense of inadequacy is not proof that you are disqualified. In many ways, it is evidence that you understand your own fragility. In 2 Corinthians 4:7, Paul wrote that we carry treasure in earthen vessels so that the surpassing power may be recognized as coming from God and not from us. The phrase translated as earthen vessels referred to ordinary clay containers, common, breakable, inexpensive. Paul did not compare believers to polished gold goblets displayed in royal courts. He compared them to fragile clay jars used in everyday life. Why? Because when light is placed inside cracked clay, the fractures become channels for illumination. The very places you consider weakness become the openings through which grace shines outward. God is not showcasing flawless performance. He is demonstrating that even through human limitation, His presence remains steady. Your imperfections do not cancel your calling. They clarify the source of your strength. However, understanding this truth changes your spiritual positioning. Once you accept that your quiet obedience mattered, you become more intentional. And increased awareness attracts opposition. The adversary does not expend effort on those who pose no threat. When identity strengthens, resistance often follows. There are 3 common tactics that attempt to derail momentum right after breakthrough clarity. If you recognize them early, you can refuse their influence. Awareness is defense. The first tactic is a sudden wave of invalidation. It may arrive unexpectedly, an intrusive thought insisting that your quiet sacrifice was meaningless. It will attempt to rewrite your memory, suggesting that nothing significant happened and that you exaggerated the importance of your obedience. Do not wrestle with it endlessly. Simply observe the pattern. If your identity is being targeted, it is because it carries weight. The second tactic is comparison. You will notice someone who chose shortcuts you refused. They may appear to advance faster. They may receive opportunities you have been waiting for. The suggestion will arise: integrity slowed you down. Compromise would have been easier. This narrative is short-sighted. You are building something durable. Quick gain often hides delayed consequence. Remain focused on your own path. The third tactic is premature withdrawal. This is the impulse to abandon your assignment just as momentum begins to shift. Fatigue intensifies, doubt increases. The temptation to step away feels reasonable. Yet often, pressure peaks right before transition. Let me share a real example. A senior executive was asked to adjust financial data to present a more favorable image. It was subtle, easy to justify. He declined. That decision cost him his position. For months, he questioned himself. He felt isolated and uncertain. He could have grown resentful, but he chose to remain grounded. He intentionally regulated his mindset, refusing to allow stress to harden him. 9 months later, interestingly, the length of a human gestation, he received an unexpected call. A competing firm had heard of his refusal to manipulate numbers. They did not simply offer employment, they offered leadership, increased compensation, and ownership stake. His endurance matured into credibility. You are in your own gestation period. Growth is occurring beneath the surface, even if visibility is limited. And now it is time to internalize this fully. Pause internally for a moment. If you are driving, remain attentive to the road, but let your focus settle inward. If you are seated somewhere quiet, straighten your posture slightly. Imagine your inner self standing tall, steady, alert, receptive. This is not fantasy, it is intention. Acknowledge what you have endured. The nights when sleep felt distant, the conversations that wounded more than you expected, the stretches of silence that tested your resolve. None of it was overlooked. Every restrained reaction, every tear shed in private, every decision to stay aligned when misalignment seemed easier, these moments accumulated significance. Now affirm this truth within yourself. Your value is not defined by visible applause. It is anchored in unseen integrity. Picture your mind recalibrating, stress easing, clarity returning, breath deepening. Imagine your nervous system settling, no longer braced for constant impact. See your thoughts aligning with steadiness rather than alarm. You are not merely surviving, you are stabilizing. Release the belief that you must prove yourself through exhaustion. Strength does not require self-destruction. Sustainable resilience comes from alignment, spirit, mind and body cooperating rather than competing. As you stand in this awareness, consider the question forming within you. Will you carry this identity responsibly? If recognition increases, will humility remain? If opportunity expands, will integrity stay intact? Answer quietly but firmly. Commit to consistency over spectacle, to depth over display, to faithfulness when attention is absent as much as when it is present. This is commissioning, not into noise, but into steadiness. One final step remains. Now, chosen one, envision the frequency of your spirit harmonizing with divine intention. Feel the weight of unseen honor settling upon you. Understand that every act of endurance, every whispered declaration of trust, and every moment you remain steadfast is being acknowledged at the highest level. The silence that felt heavy is dissolving. Vindication is approaching. Opportunities are being prepared even in the presence of opposition. Your secret obedience is being amplified, recognized, and rewarded. Heaven is observing, and the angels are leaning in, studying the unique courage you possess. The trials you endured were not random. They were shaping you into a vessel capable of sustaining glory without compromise. The enemy will attempt whispers of doubt, comparisons, and urges to quit, but these are signals that your identity now matters in the unseen realm. They are reminders that you are high value, and your integrity is making an impact beyond what you can perceive. Take ownership of this truth. You are the trophy of obedience. Your cracks are channels for light. Your endurance is a currency that carries weight in heaven. You are commissioned. You are authorized. You are empowered. Go forward in the frequency of miraculous alignment, where mind, body, and spirit are unified. Walk boldly, chosen one, knowing that your faithfulness is now a force that cannot be overlooked. Remain steady when attention comes, remain humble when reward arrives, and remain a living testament to the power of steadfast love and trust. Sit in the silence for a moment, letting it soak into every part of you. Feel the glory settle and the authority settle. Know this is your appointed season, your rightful inheritance, and your spiritual alignment now meets physical reality. Carry it faithfully, live it courageously, and let your life reflect the divine orchestration that has been silently at work within you.